Hey crafty friends, it's Joy here. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. And if you're new here, welcome. I am so glad to have you here. So for my card today, I have some coordinating products that I used from Pinkfresh Studios. This is some newer products. It is a hot foil plate and a coordinating stencil, and it turned out so cute. I'm also using a large word die from My Favorite Things, and I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of Spellbinders and Simon Says stamp. So this card turned out absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait to get started. So let's get going on this. I love hot foiling. I think it adds such a beautiful look to your card. So I'm glad I got to do that on this card. So here is that hot foil plate. This is the overlapping geo leaf from Pinkfresh Studios. And then we're going to be using the coordinating stencil for this, and it shows you on the background what that looks like. Now there is also a coordinating die, which I don't have, but you can definitely get that and cut this out. So let's start with our foiling. I'm using a piece of 120 pound cardstock from Simon Says Stamp. I will tape this foil plate in place. I'm going to create some hinges. I actually did bring in another piece of tape because this tape was a little too low tack. It was not going to hold it. And I do have my Glimmer hot foil system from Spellbinders turned on and heating up. I'm using the foil cutting, I can't even remember what it's called, but I'll have it linked for you. This is from Spellbinders. And then of course my Aura foil. Lately my foil projects, I think I've tried to use some other foils and I was really missing my Aura, so I'm definitely using that. So I'm going to trim a piece that will be long enough to cover that whole plate. So I'm just going to cut that on the edge there, and now we've got our nice beautiful foil piece. Now I can lift up that hinge of my foil plate and add my foil. You want your shiny side up towards the hot foil plate. I'm going to tape another piece at the bottom just so this does not shift or move, and I'm going to put that down while I'm still waiting for it to heat up. And once it does, you can push this other button and it's going to blink for about a minute. Once it's done blinking, then you can pull your thing out of the docking station, put your shims and your, I can't even think what they're called right now, on top, and then run that through, your shims and your plates. Put that on top and then slowly run it through your die cut machine. And I have the Platinum 6, and look at how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, it came out so great. I did have a little bit of over foiling on the edge, and I really didn't even need to erase it because I ended up trimming down my panel. Now let's use that coordinating stencil. I'm using some Simon Says Stamp inks to go along with this. There is 5 stencils and they are labeled 1 through 5. So super easy to use. I am going to tape this in place because I don't want this shifting at all. I'm also using the small blender brushes from Simon Says Stamp because I just have those to coordinate with their inks. I have the large ones and the small ones. The small ones have really become my favorite. I just feel like I have more control. So the inks that we're using in order are Lemonade, Cheeky, Bubblegum, and Seafoam, and then the last one is Sprout. And this is going to overlap, of course, like the name says, overlapping geo leaf, and it is so stunning. I definitely want to use this again with a different color combination. So I'm just going to ink blend all of my yellows, and I cleaned my stencils after. I just kind of kept moving and I just used water to clean them off. Here is that Cheeky. But look at how pretty already. It's so pretty. And then this is against that foiled background. I just absolutely love it. I'm making sure that everything is lined up, that I can see all of my foiled lines in each one of those little leaf sections to make sure I don't foil or ink funny, not foil funny, ink funny. I love this Cheeky color. It is such a pretty, like corally orange, and I love it. So let's ink blend this, and this is overlapping some of that yellow on one little section. So now you're going to get another color. So you end up getting a lot of different colors, and that's a lot of fun. We can peel this one back. We will bring in the third stencil, but this is already looking so fun. I love it. Again, making sure everything is lined up, that I can see all of my lines to the leaves, my foil lines. Here is that bubblegum pink. It's like a purpley pink to me. And for some reason, when I was stenciling, I don't know what I did here because I didn't do it on the other ones, but it bled through a little bit. Like I had too much ink on my brush, and it's not the end of the world and it really came out fine, but I just don't love when things like that happen. But when I blended the other colors, it really was totally fine. But yeah, I had a couple little spots that it just bled through. I think that was the worst spot. And I did it, I think I did it with the green too at the very end. So I don't know, all of a sudden I guess I forgot how to stencil, but it worked out fine and everything came out super, super cute. So we are also going to be using my favorite things, a very big high die. And it's cute, like it's big and the font is really, really cute. And so we're going to use that on this background as well. And I will be using some flowers just to adorn this a little bit. You don't have to though. I think you could leave it out and it would be really cute too. This is the seafoam color, one of my favorites. And so it's blending and giving you a little bit of a purple color, which is fun, mixed with that pink. Then we can bring in the last one, which is the little green piece that's going to bring this whole thing together. So you can just see there are little squares right down the center. Really, really cute. And I'm using Sprout for this. And this is, it bled through on this too, and just some little corners. So not really sure what I was doing, but I did something. But look at how pretty that is. So I do trim this down to where you don't really have a white outside edge. It's just right up to the images. Then I die cut, and oh, I forgot to get the name of this, you guys. This is from Spellbinders. It's a little flower die. I will have it linked for you below. I meant to get the name before I did my video, but I totally forgot. So I have die cut them from white. There's some leaves from white. I did do a little bit of ink blending with the lemonade and the bubble gum. And then I die cut the centers of the flowers out from that, just to kind of keep it coordinating. And I'm keeping the flowers white because there is so much color on the background. I don't want to compete with that. Other than the leaves are going to be that same green that's in the center, and I felt like we could bring in more green for this. So that same sprout color, I'm just going to quickly ink blend these leaves. But other than that, the flowers themselves are going to be white. So now we can adhere the centers to the flowers. I will use my embellishment wand and some Barely Art glue. And I die cut way too many flowers. I used a total of 6 flowers. I probably cut, what, 12, 10, 15, something. Too many, and I did not need them all. But I think I like to overcut or overcolor so I don't have to revisit that, because that will drive me nuts. So I just added a dot of liquid glue to the centers, and then I'm using my embellishment wand to grab the tiny flower centers, and then I can just put those in place. Then I decided I'm going to bend these up a little bit to give them some 3D look, because they are flat flowers. And I did the same thing with the leaves. So I'm just grabbing them and quickly bending up the petals. You could also do this once they're adhered down, and then once the glue has dried, you could bend up the petals. But I do think it's a good idea because, again, it's giving you more dimension, and we are going to add a lot of dimension behind this word high. I am letting that background dry. That's why I went to these flowers, because I didn't want any of that ink, even though it dries quick and soaks into that paper. I just didn't want anything to happen to that background, because we are going to be die cutting it, which is already scary enough, right? You have a beautiful background that you have to die cut. So there is that cute, a very big high. I'm centering that right in my panel, and then I'm using some low tack tape. Now, you really want to be careful because this background is foiled. I'm trying not to press down on the foil with the tape, if that makes sense. And then I'm gently peeling it off, and it did not lift up any of my foil, thank goodness, because I was sweating the whole time. Then I die cut 4 more times from black cardstock. I think it was 4. Yeah. From black cardstock to give this dimension. Now, you can choose white cardstock, but I wanted black, and I did it so many times because I want to see the black underneath it. When you are looking at it from the front, you're going to kind of see it, but from the side, you're going to see that black, which is going to pop. It's going to break up all of that light color background and really make the word high stand out. So 4 layers of that, and then the 5th layer is, of course, that foiled and stenciled background that we already cut out. So let's glue that into place. And this is going to be so fantastic. We're going to pop this right back in to the card panel itself. So your background has the 3D high, which I love that look with sentiment dies. I think it's so fantastic. So let's adhere that panel to a black card panel because I want this to have a little bit of a black matte around the edge. Bring in a little bit more of that black. Then some liquid glue. Oh, excuse me. First, let's adhere this to the white card base, and we will have a little bit of a white matte, which I think is really super pretty. Then we can adhere the letters. I am using liquid glue for this because I want this to stay. I don't want this to go anywhere. So a little bit of liquid glue, and when you're putting it in place, making sure that that eye is lined up. It's not turned upside down. But look at how you can see that black behind it. Isn't that so fun? I love how that looks. Okay, now let's stamp our sentiment. I am using Simon Says Stamps Tiny Words. I thought it would be perfect to have a tiny sentiment with these large high. So it says, "You got this." And I am stamping that in my metallic gold ink from Honeybee Stamps. I know I've talked about this. It's one of my favorite inks. I love it, love it. So I do have my flowers laid out. Let's add a little bit of foam tape behind that sentiment. We can put that in place. I want that to be across the H and the I, and then kind of nestled in with some flowers around it. I did trim down those leaves because they were really long, because part of that flower die has a branch, so you're going to have long leaves and little flowers. So I trimmed those leaves down probably by half, and then I can adhere that to the letters. So I have 2 flowers on this right side, and then 1 single flower and leaf on the right part of the H, and then 2 at the top part of the H. I actually did bring in a 3rd one, and I don't remember if I showed that on camera, but I was going back and forth between 2 and 3, and I decided for 3, but I did not add another leaf. Just making sure I can see that there is a top to that H. Oh, yep, here's that 3rd leaf, or excuse me, 3rd flower. Isn't that so cute? All right, let's add a little bit more to this because I felt like I needed a little bit of bling. So of course I am using one of my favorites. This is Studio Katya's Gold Fever Confetti. This is like the aura foil that I used. It's got that iridescence to it, and it's stunning. So I thought that would be perfect, and I'm just adding that to the centers of the flowers. I'm not going to add it anywhere else. And this was the perfect final touch to me. And I love, love how this turned out. So let's look at that up close. Look at that foil. The stencil is, the pattern is great. And then that large high, it's so lovely. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.